Hello and welcome back to the What Falk Sunderland review show. It was a cracking game for the neutral, as I said on Sky Sports, but for us Sunderland fans, it was a tough on the heart, that 3-3 draw with Wycombe. We've got a jam-packed show for you today with, at the moment, 4 guests, potentially 5 if Dave feels like joining a little bit later on. He might not. But the good news is not one of the guests today lost to a League One team this weekend, so you're in safe hands. In the red and white corner, we've got regular Brad Sharp. Brad, how are you doing? Are you all right?
I'm good, mate. Thank you.
He's been gone ages. Used to be a proper regular, but I'm glad he's back. Jack Shields. Jack, how are you doing? Are you all right?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Good. Looking forward to a big crack about the Sunderland game today.
I was going to say, you sounded surprised there. Like, I'm actually not bad. Getting back.
Right.
Good. Good, mate. Good. And last but not least, it's been a little while since we've had an opposition fan on for the review. That's probably my fault, to be fair. But welcome back to the show, Jonny King from The Wanderer. Johnny, obviously different colour today, but how are you feeling in the aftermath of the game?
Yeah, not too bad. I've just about recovered. Yeah, hell of a game. I don't think my heart can take much more of that, but yeah, great game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fab game, but I've got to be honest, I would have took a boring 1-0. I would have took that first 2 minutes goal and that would have been fine. And I did say he might join us. He has done. Dave, how are you feeling? Are you all right?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Thanks, yourself.
Yeah, we've all just pretty much said the same thing. We're just kind of calming down from what was a bit of a mental game. A good game for the neutral, as they kept saying on Sky Sports. Don't think it was good on anyone's heart here, though. Jack, I'm going to come to you first. Obviously, we'll go around a few of us because we have got a full house today, but we're talking about 3-4 hours after the match is finished. How are you feeling in the aftermath of the match?
Yeah, I don't think it was a bad point overall, Graham, to be honest. I thought Wycombe, we've had a bit of trouble playing Wycombe in the past. They've beaten us a couple of times down there and they've taken a point at the stadium like now and again. So I think it was always going to be a tight game. It was never going to be a game where either team were going to win 3 or 4-0. I think before the game, would they have taken a point? Probably. Obviously, going into injury time, I know it was a lot of lengthy injury time when we're 3-2 up and you're in a winning position. Yeah, you're always disappointed, regardless of who it is you're playing and your circumstances. If you don't see the game out, a little bit disappointing. But overall, I thought Wycombe were good value for a point. I thought they had the better of the first half. They were the team that got the ball down, played better football. And I thought second half we came back strongly. Last 20 minutes, I think we were much the better team. We were the team that had the energy. Wycombe looked a bit dead on the feet. And unfortunately, it's a set piece they've managed to get a point. But I think Wycombe have done it quite a few times. They seem to score quite a lot of late goals. And I think it's a symbol of the never say die attitude, which unfortunately is bitten us on the backside today.
Funny how you said you would have taken a point. I said that in the preview show, so I can't deny that I said that to Johnny previously, but because I definitely did. However, if you'd asked me that same question 2 minutes after, I was like, massive 2 points dropped, which is, it's a funny world being a football fan, I think. Dave, I'll throw the next question at you next because you surprisingly came on. Same question to you as I passed to Jack. How are you feeling in the aftermath?
Yeah, I'm quite happy with it, to be honest. I mean, yeah, I suppose you've got to. I'm sure Johnson will passively put it across that you've got to see games out with 90 seconds left, which is a fair comment. But they're young, they're learning. Nice to see. Yeah, but we looked as though we'd score every time we went forward, if I'm honest. So that's good. And we've said all season we will concede goals because of the way we play football. We will concede goals. It's as simple as that. And to be honest, on another day, I'm probably not exaggerating by saying we would have had 6. Like, genuinely. I think Jacobson's one off the line, off Stewart's header. People like, honestly, Lyndon Gooch frustrates the life out of me because if ever there's a decision to make, he makes the fucking wrong one. He's a pain in the arse. Like, if he wasn't a born and bred Mackham /American / whatever the frickin' hell he is, then I'd be like really pissed off. But yeah, we'll forgive him. But yeah, I think, yeah, it's one of them. Listen, I think there's more positives to take than negatives. You know, we were missing Bailey Wright today, which I think from them set pieces, especially the way he's been playing for the last month, I think he's probably been a big miss. And listen, it was always going to be Wycombe's plan. Always going to be Wycombe's plan to bully us from set pieces. And hey, fair play to them. They stuck to their game plan and it is what it is. There we are.
Such is life, isn't it? Johnny, I've really missed having the opposition viewpoint. I've got to be honest. I wish you hadn't scored at the end, and I would have been even more excited to have you on. But nonetheless, it's always interesting to see the opposite view of the game, because we all hear every Sunderland fan's impact of the game on social media. But from a Wycombe perspective, and you in specific, how's the reaction after the game?
Yeah, I think relief more than anything. I mean, first of all, an amazing game, and I think both sides deserve a lot of credit for how they played, and I think particularly Sunderland, with given the amount of inexperienced young players you had to put in your side today, for them to go out and play like that in a high pressure game, fantastic and great to watch. It was one of them where, let's get the cliches out of the way early, either side could have nicked it, but neither side deserved to lose either. So I think it was one of them where a draw was absolutely a fair result. I think we maybe shaded the first half, and like Jack was saying, then Sunderland came into it more and more as the second half went on, and the last 20 minutes or so was really uncomfortable viewing from a Wycombe perspective. And then when I felt like your third goal was coming, and when it came, I thought, that's it. And I mean, I've been watching Wycombe long enough to know that we always keep going till the end, and we do score an extraordinary amount of late goals. But I didn't think we were going to get one this time, because you were just so dominant. And like you were saying, quite a few of our players were dead on their feet. So, we saw both sides of Wycombe today, the two ways we can play that. Yeah, we can get the ball down and play, but in the last kind of few sort of 10 minutes or so, we reverted to the old sort of classic going direct, getting a bit more physical, playing for a set piece, and in the end, that's got us out of trouble.
Brad, last but not least, you were first introduced, you're the last to give your view in the game. Everyone seemed relatively comfortable with the point. I suppose in hindsight, it probably was a fair result, but then again, the second half, the amount of chances we had. But how do you assess it, Brad?
Yeah, like Johnny said, I think Wycombe did edge it first half. They played a lot different to how I was expecting them, to be honest. They got the ball down well, and they played a lot of football in our final third. And then the second half was like a completely different. I mean, we could have had 3 in the first 5 minutes, with Pritchard picking out Evans, and their keepers came out, yes, put a good challenge in. And then if Gooch or Embleton had a first touch on them, Pritchard could have had 3 assists. And I did feel a goal was coming. And then there was that unfortunate stoppage for Corey Evans, and thank goodness he's okay. But I just thought that maybe took the sting out of it. It usually does when you're watching games. But credit, we pressed on. Another good goal from Ross Stewart again, which I did think we'd won it. But then it's just poor defending. And when you do look back at it, I mean, it's hard straight away to accept that you've conceded in the 98th minute. But when you reflect on the game as a whole, like you say, it was a good spectacle to watch, and a draw was fair. And I've always said, if you go away from home against the teams that are going to be top 6 to top 8 and get a point, and you win at home, win your home games, you're going to be in a good position. And I mean, we've taken 4 points off Wycombe this season, and they're going to be in and around us come the end. So on the whole, I'm quite happy with it, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think I said it before. I felt it was 2 massive points dropped, and the immediate aftermath I really did. But I felt like a bit like that with Ipswich. If we win the next 3, if we beat Lincoln on Tuesday, if it's not called off for whatever reason, because anything can happen these days, weather, COVID, whatever you want. And then the weekend after is Accrington, and then I think it's Pompey. Win at least 2 out of those 3 and get a draw on the other one, and it's pretty decent. But Jack, I'll come back to you. I think the big talking point, especially from a Sunderland perspective before the game, was the COVID cases. Obviously, I think, some of us were aware which players were out. In the long run, it was only really Diaku and Hoffman that was missing in terms of guaranteed starters. But the bench was like players who've been out on loan and young kids, and a very, very young and experienced goalkeeper. I think the majority of people thought, yeah, go for it, play the game. That's what we want to do. I was very much in that camp, especially knowing the players that were due to be out. But do you think it was the right decision playing on in the aftermath and seeing what the score was?
Yeah, I think so. I know what you're saying. That some Sunderland fans would always say they're the strongest team. You know what I mean? Make sure that you've got your strongest team. Make sure that that's, if you can't play your strongest team, then call it off. But I think with our form and momentum at the minute, we haven't lost in a while. We seem to be playing well and getting results. So I'm a big believer of when you've got form and momentum, try and play as many games as you can. I understand the viewpoint that, play your strongest, and if you haven't got your strongest team, to maybe wait a little bit until the back. But I think then you might end up in a situation that we're going to be in. You know what I mean? We've got quite a few games in hand, cup games and things like that. So I think it was the right decision that we played it, and with a bit more luck to do, we might have ended up with 3 points, and everyone would say it was a cracking decision. It's a bit disappointing that we didn't get the win, but I don't think you can blame the strength of the team. If we played a really weakened team and Wycombe had beaten us 2 or 3-0, then you could say it was a terrible decision. But I think it was a competitive enough game that we did ourselves justice. Just a bit disappointing that we couldn't hang on for the win, but I think it was the right decision.
Thing for me though, I agree with you, but if Ross Stewart gets injured, I reckon we should just cancel the entire season. Like if he gets COVID, just definitely cancel it. All right, if anyone's listening, Sunderland. I wanted to come on to obviously a few parts of the first half. Fantastic start of the first half, Brad. For us, I'm going to give it to Ross Stewart, even though it went in off Stockdale's bollock. The second one, though, obviously Wycombe came back and got the first one. Fair enough. Took a deflection, probably deserved to be level at that point. Really impressed by Mehmeti as well, if I'm completely honest. Someone I wouldn't mind just having a look at if he plays like that every week. But the second one, I've obviously gone a bit mad about it on Twitter. I'm still a bit mad about it. But you had quite an interesting viewpoint on Twitter as well, Dave. Not Dave, Brad even. There's too many people on this call. There's a couple of shirts being tugged from our perspective, which, to be honest, I think is a penalty these days. But if we're talking about solely the goal going in, I think it was Hanlon that's backing into Patterson, holding onto his arm. For me, that should have never been given for a multitude of reasons. But what are your thoughts on it, Brad? Am I being a little bit too biased, or?
You've got to remember they get one chance to see it, and like I said, I commented on the Twitter feed. There's about 4 or 5 things going on in there. There's Flanagan and one of their players, I don't know who it was. Flanagan's trying to assault him. Yeah, Doyle and what's his face who scored? Vokes. Yeah, them two trying to swap shirts with each other. Hanlon was backing into Patterson and Sirkin had his arm all over him. And then like the funny bit was Carl Winchester saying like he was just waving. It's hard. I can sort of see why the officials didn't get it because there was that much going on. If it goes to VAR, anything could have happened. The lad was technically offside because he's interfering with play. He has got hold of Patterson, but Flanagan had hold of their player, which is before any of them incidents. So they might have even given a penalty. So I don't want to go into it with like a biased viewpoint and say yes, it should have been definitely disallowed. If that was an incident that was isolated on its own, then yes, it definitely should not have been given. But yeah, they're not going to see that at this level, especially without VAR. And we're talking about it now. Sky talked about it. It's been on social media. There's been about 7 or 8 different opinions, and we've all had 9, 10, 11 looks at it. So probably maybe should have been given as a foul or something in there. But
my only thought process was, and this is a very, very biased red and white tinted glasses viewpoint, which is what you get on this show, believe it or not. I think if he's offside, does then anything else that happened in the box become nullified? But you know what? My anger's not at Wycombe. I've seen a lot of anger directed at Wycombe. That's how Wycombe played. That's fine. I'll come on to Wycombe. I thought they played more than that, but Wycombe are skilled in that art. But I think for me, it's just, again, it's League One refs, isn't it? A linesman. There's always something every week. Like, not just for us, but every club, and it drives me a bit batty, but I did want to get a different viewpoint completely, because I think everyone's heard the Sunderland viewpoint. I think yours was very balanced, Brad, which is why I came to yourself. But Johnny, from a Wycombe perspective, look, hey, you take anything you can get. I'm the same with Sunderland. If it goes down someone's backside and then they've thrown it in the back of the net with their fist, I'm not that bothered. But from as balanced as you can be, which I know is hard, what was the Wycombe take on the second goal?
As Brad was saying, it was kind of carnage in the box, and my first thought when I saw it go in was, this is going to be disallowed. I didn't spot the offside. I was thinking for the challenge on the keeper. Having had the benefit of seeing a few replays, I'm not sure about the foul on the keeper. I do think they get a bit too much protection these days, but if that had been the other way around and a Sunderland player had done that on Stockdale, I probably would have complained about it. But I think the offside thing's a fair shout, certainly. But so I do think the goal, one way or the other, should have been disallowed. There is also there is the point that's been made that your man's got Farino in a headlock. There's a shirt pull on Vokes. I mean, was it Doyle, your number 6? I think he doesn't even challenge for the ball. He's like waiting at a bus stop, just putting on his shirt. So it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other that probably should have been disallowed, but then by the same token, probably should have had a penalty, although the penalty has to be scored in front of 2,000 Mackham, so I'm sure would have been very quiet and just wait for him to take it. I was surprised it was given, and I think Sunderland fans have got a right to be pissed off about that, because it is, the whole thing's a mess. The whole situation was a mess, and like Brad was saying, we've seen replays and the referee only gets one go at it, but I was really surprised it was allowed to stand. Yeah,
well, the way it just kind of like Vokes just nodded it in the net and it trickled in, I was like, what? But for me, the second and the third goal were very stereotypical, what people think Wycombe are. But I've got to be totally honest, and I mentioned it before, I think it's Mimedy. And obviously, we're both kind of your wingers, your slash number 10s, because we're coming inside. Actually really impressed me today. I thought Brandon Hanlon had a really good game as well. I've got to be fair with him, Johnny. I actually thought he played really good football first half. I don't think he just hoofed it. I think you've got that ability, but it's a better Wycombe than I've seen in the past.
First half performances is what we're capable of. I think what we've seen though is if we try and play more expansive, our defence isn't strong enough to cover. And at the end of the day, that's why we often do play the way we do, because that's what is effective and that's what will get us results. And if you go attacking, you take a risk.
Yeah, I mean, there was points second half, I think, where we really cut you open, and maybe you look at the goals and you say, well, our goals came from the kind of long punts into the box, so you could say that was more effective. But I was impressed by Wycombe. I really, really was, in comparison to maybe what I've seen in the past. But Dave, I'm going to come to you with this one because I've got to. Because of course, Dave, this is the question that's tailor-made for yourself. Ross Stewart is absolutely lovely. I just love him. I thought, for me, that's a hat-trick today. I don't care. That's a second hat-trick in 2 games for me. At least 5 and 2. His hold-up play, his ability off the ball, just everything about him, the way he runs channels, the way he plays people in. Are you a little bit worried that Ross Stewart is going to get noticed sooner rather than later because he's playing outstanding? How good is he?
Mate, I'm just reveling in the glory that after the Plymouth game last season, I said he was amazing. And that was like after seeing him for 3 games, 4 games. So I love him. And I tell you what, I'd call, my old man sits there and he obviously knows that I do a few podcasts here and there. And literally, so Embleton did very well for his first/second goal, the equaliser to make it 2-2. And I said, before that ball even came in, it was like, watch his movement. His movement is impeccable. He is such a good centre forward. And he's got everything. He's literally got everything, because he can play on the last man. He can play in the 6-yard box. He chases down lost causes. I tell you what, he doesn't want to go anywhere. Unless someone ridiculous came in for him, which isn't going to happen. he's not going anywhere. He gets it. He knows what this football club's all about, and he knows how big a chance he's got to go and progress. And I'm sure I just read something before that Ainsworth said he's going to go on to huge things. I think was his exact quote.
He did,
and
yeah.
I don't disagree with him. He looks phenomenal, to be fair, at the minute. Very good.
It's not the first time I've said it, but shut up, Gareth. Leave him for us. He's shite. No one wants him. Jack, I'm going to go maybe two good, one good, one bad. Sorry. Tom Flanagan has been really good this season, Jack, right? I really love Flano. I thought he got absolutely tortured today and was absolutely rotten. It was probably the reason why our defence looked so shaky. What was it with Flano today? What did you make his performance?
I don't know. I just think he was a bit off, wasn't he? He never... He made a couple of misjudgments. He misjudged one where he was trying to see out, which cost us a chance, which Wycombe could have scored. He then misjudged another one where the lad kind of nudged him off the ball and got a chance, and I think he got away with it. So yeah, it just wasn't great today. I think you couldn't get that with Flanagan, though. He's not. I wouldn't really say he has played very well this season and been a lot better, but he's not someone who's really a top level defender at this league. I think he is a League One level defender. I'm not blaming him for it's not going up in the last few seasons, but I think. He is what he is. He is someone that, has been fairly solid, but you are going to get the odd game where he is a little bit dodgy. And I think, unfortunately, that was today. But hopefully it's an exception to the rule rather than the rule. You know what I mean? He has been pretty solid. I've never really been a huge fan of him, but he's been much improved this season. Even popped up with some goals, hasn't he, with, in the opposition box with a few headers and important chances at the other end. So yeah, hopefully it's just a bit of an off day, but he wasn't great today. I agree.
Yeah, I thought every time I've seen Brandon Hanlon, and I've spoke obviously at length to Gillingham fans and Bristol Rovers fans in the past, and they all go, I blow top and cold. But every time I see Brandon Hanlon, he seems to give one of our defenders a torrid time. And I don't know if we just struggle against just big, strong centre forwards like that. But again, I said Hanlon was impressive for me, and I think Flannel got done quite a bit today.
A couple of times throughout the game on different occasions, he flung himself in front of the ball and put a few decent blocks in, which were shots on target, and you don't know where they're going to end up. But yeah, it wasn't the best day for Flanagan, was it? I
felt like the nervousness. Some people have said it was Patterson, who I said in the aftermath of the game, I thought he was poor. Actually, I watched the game back, and I don't think he was as poor as I thought he was. I'm going to take that back. I thought the nervousness came from Flannel getting done quite a few times. I think Doyle.
What I think it is with Flanagan. With Flanagan, I think he's very guilty at times, especially in tight games, of playing the occasion. He lets his head get away from him too much, and he forgets that he's a professional footballer and needs to do the basics right. I mean, what was the one? Was it the one first half where he's done the hard bit by making up the ground and coming across the Wycombe centre forward, and then literally, he forgets to take the ball, the stupid idiot. He literally runs past it, and he's done the hard work, because he must have given the centre forward 2 or 3 yards head start.
Yeah,
he gets to the ball before it, and I'm like, right, just play it simple, knock it out for a throw in, come back to the keeper, whatever you're doing. And the stupid idiot's like Bambi on ice and runs past the ball. I'm like, oh my God.
Look, I really, really like Tom Flanagan. I really do.
I love him.
But today, I felt like it was the Flanagan I didn't like in the first season, against Coventry. Sorry to bring that game up. But I said I was going to do one bad, one good, or one really good, one excellent. Don't want to labour on any negatives. It seems that there's very few negatives here at the moment. Jacobson got man of the match. For me, there was only one man on the pitch that was head and shoulders above everyone else. And I'm not going to say Ross Stewart, believe it or not. Alex Pritchard, Brad, just that bloke's hit a level of form that we're seeing what he's probably been signed for 12 million for. How important is it that Pritchard, A, keeps up that form, B, that we keep him fit to the end of the season?
It's massive, mate. In recent weeks, he's like, in previous seasons, we've always said McGee's like a cheat code for this division.
Mm-hmm.
At the minute, that's what Pritchard is. He is playing in a league which is well below his, when he's playing well below his standard. I touched on it saying we came out second half. He could have had 3 assists in the first 5 minutes. His vision is unbelievable. He just sees things before anyone else can see it. I mean, the the big one for me was the pick out for Embleton, because he was actually not even looking at him. He's spotted him before the ball's got to him, and he's going away from the goal towards the touchline, and he's just whipped it back towards him. And if Embleton's first touch is better, we score there. That's we're talking about that goal for the rest of the season, because it's just I just love it. I love Alex Pritchard. What I don't love about it is sometimes we lump in long balls to him, and he is trying to jump and win it in the air, bless him. But he's like 5'2", so when we play to his strengths, I don't think there's anyone in this league that's close to as technically good as Pritchard. If he gets injured, I think we are fucked, especially at this moment in time.
See what
without
you see.
anything else, with anyone else without anyone else to immediately come in and replace him. I do think we are really, really fucked if he gets injured. He just, the way he either retains the ball for us and brings other players into play, or he gets us on the front foot. If he's playing well, it seems like we were talking about Dan Neil being that type of player early this season. If Neil's playing well, the rest of the team are sort of like they've clicked with him. At the minute, I think it's Pritchard that's the driving force. So yeah, I mean, I love that. I love Pritchard as much as Dave loves Ross Stewart.
It's really nice to have like today it was gutting, but I suppose in the aftermath it felt like a good game, and it was players that you like. I can see how we're playing, and I kind of believe turnaround. Everyone who does listen to the show will know I was very much on the fence not too long ago. Actually, I was off the fence. I was pretty much Johnson out. I was totally wrong with that. I admit that a few weeks ago. I'm loving the way we're playing at the minute, but I love the way that Pritchard can play with both feet, and then so can Elliot Embleton. It just has other defenders second guessing themselves. Like, I was expecting a lot of Wycombe's defenders to just take our players out, which they tend to do. And I don't mean in a dirty way. I mean just be physical and stronger than like the likes of Pritchard and Embleton. They were small and slight. But because they were capable of going either way, you've seen at times their defenders were thinking, shit, I'm not quite sure what to do here at this point. Going forward, I've got no complaints on something at the minute. We look phenomenal. It's maybe going backwards where is the issue if we're going to have a negative, which brings you on to the question I want to ask you, Jack, before we head for a little break. January is ahead. We've got a lot of injuries. We've got the COVID situation. We're still looking decent. We brought in Trey Hume. Obviously wasn't involved today. Where do you think, based on today's game or based on the past few weeks, Sunderland could and should strengthen?
I think we're definitely missing a little bit of athleticism in the middle of the park. A little bit of strong physical player in the middle, because today what I noticed, and I've noticed quite a lot in League One, other teams seem to be better at kind of using the body in order to get possession, if that makes sense. So the ball will drop down from, say, 50-50 or a poor pass, as we get many at this level from us and the opposition. And the other team seem to be more adept at kind of using the body, physically gaining possession and then building from there. And I think first half, Wycombe, that's how Wycombe were on top. They seem to be doing that a lot, physically dominating us and then getting possession and getting chances from there. Second half, we were better at it. We seem to get a bit, win the physical battles more and gain possession that way. And I think we are, in terms of technical ability, we're probably going to be able to outplay most teams at this level, but I still think we're a bit physically short, particularly in the middle. So I'd like a big athletic centre midfielder, someone who can, not just a big physical lump. Someone that can play a little bit as well, but certainly a little bit of strength in the middle. I still think we need a backup striker as well. We've all touched on Ross Stewart, how good he is. Heaven forbid anything gets injured, like you say, we might as well just pack the season in now. So I do still think we need. It'd be nice to get a little bit of a different option up front. We know all about Ross Stewart and how good he is, but can we get another option? Maybe someone a bit more like a Broadhead, someone smaller and quicker, maybe that can maybe a bit more of a poacher. I don't know, but those are the two areas. Possibly, if I'm being greedy, another defender as well. But certainly, centre mid and backup strike will be the two I would look for above all.
Excellent. We're going to jump in a wee little break there and come back and just finish off for the last sort of 5-10 minutes of the pod. Catch you in a bit. Welcome back to the second part. Jack, you were chatting before about the people that you bring in. You'd like someone who's athletic, shall we say, in the middle. I kind of agree with that. I'm going to go to Loch Ness Dave with this for the same question, mate. Where would you like to see us strengthen based on today's game in the past few weeks?
Yeah, I think it's. I think Jack pretty much hit the nail on the head. To be fair, another centre forward would be good. I don't know if N'Golo Kante is kicking about, whether he fancies a couple of games. Do you know what I mean?
Don't see why not.
I think he'd be the perfect midfielder. I think. Or tell you what, we've had some midfielders who probably do a good. No, keep forgetting it's the wrong podcast. It's not our cult 11 in it this time. But yeah, a big athletic centre midfielder. I don't know who's out there really.
Max Power.
Sorry. And I think a big, strong, powerful centre half as well. To be honest, I just think the spine of that team, if it can be, especially in games like that today against the likes of Wycombe, it would be nice to just have a little bit more depth and call upon people. So yeah, I think one of each for me: centre half, centre midfielder, centre forward. I think I'd be quite happy with that for the rest of the season.
Yeah, same. Me as well. Dave, Brad, I'm getting names mixed up. Jeez, I've got to stop having this many people on. Brad, I'll come to you with the same exact question. I kind of agree with the lads for what it's worth. I'd like a centre half coming in. I feel horrendous on Callum Doyle and Flano because I like them both and they both had great seasons. But I'd just like someone to come in so we can have a bit of competition there as well. Because for me, Bailey Wright is now a right back. Where would you like to see players brought in?
Yeah, just the same really. Straight up the spine. Centre half. I think Alves will go back, to be honest. So if we can bring a centre half. I was quite confident with Wright, Flanagan and Doyle in recent weeks. And I think Wright was a big miss today, so it does show that we do need a little bit more cover in there. Another centre midfielder wouldn't go amiss. If we don't get a centre midfielder, it's not the end of the world. And we're looking at, I think Roberts is looking to be coming in, isn't he? That just seems to be taking a little bit longer. I did hear there's been a big COVID outbreak amongst the team he's on loan at. Don't know if that's got anything to do with it. I think there was 12 or 13 players. There's a Troyes, something like that, yeah. Troyes. Yeah. I'm not French, so I apologise to any French listeners if I'm saying that wrong. Troyes.
Where was that Eric Raff from that? Eric Raff from Troyes.
Troyes.
Mm.
I only remember Troyes because they knocked Newcastle out of Champions League qualifying about 2001.
No, man, that was Cambridge, wasn't it? Was that not Cambridge?
No, that's Cambridge.
I think you'll find that's Cambridge.
I'm glad we've touched on that. Cambridge have beaten as many Premier League sides this season as Newcastle have. That's fantastic.
Obsessed, I was obsessed.
Richest club in the world and they got beaten by a university.
Amazing.
roll your boat gently down the stream.
I think if we get Roberts in, centre midfielder, yes, it would be nice. If it doesn't happen, I think we do have people who can slot in there if we need to. And like you say, another centre half, and I'd be more than happy with what we've got there. I just wanted to ask Jonny a question, if you don't mind, Graham.
Yeah, I do.
Sorry.
Carry on.
Jonny, what's your opinion on Wycombe's Twitter and the car park gate?
Oh, how did I forget that?
Yeah, I think there's I'm not entirely sure what went on. There's, I think supposedly it was supposed to be just to let people know that the car park was full. Don't drive. I don't know how many of you have been to Adams Park before, but if you park there, that's you done. Like, you may as well buy a house because you're not getting out of there for about 2 or 3 hours after the game. So some people are saying it's just to let people know it was full. Don't try and buy tickets. I don't know. It was a bit weird.
Wycombe's got a funny Twitter though, Jonny, don't they? They had that. What was it they had the other week?
Our house thing.
Well, the Our House thing, fair enough. I can kind of take that, fair enough. You want to make your place a focus and that kind of thing. But I don't know if like the guy who's actually running Wycombe's Twitter has pulled a blinder, because first and foremost, by the way, as Frankie said and pointed out, it's not a car park, it's a field. It's vastly different. The car park is very different, boys and girls. But he tweeted, I think it was last week. I say he, I mean Wycombe, but he was obviously controlling it. And he tweeted about how many fans had been in the grounds in the past 3 games, but it was like mainly away games. And he was like, over 1 million people have watched, I can't remember the number, or 60,000 people have watched Wycombe games. And he's like, thanks to the 837 Wycombe fans who've watched it as well. Is it a thing Wycombe do just to kind of drive a weird level of engagement?
I mean, it may well be. I mean, I know the media guy at Wycombe, and he's a great guy, and he's clever, and I think he is quite into his kind of like he's always pushing new media stuff, and it's quite nice that I can remember sort of 10 years ago, like our media department was kind of basically, we had a website and that was about it. So it is kind of nice that we've got someone who's, you know, always looking to kind of get the club, you know, trending on Twitter and stuff. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't come off. But it is kind of exciting for Wycombe fans that we are kind of playing these games where there are big attendances, because, you know, for most of our history, we're a non-league team, and most of our Football League history has been as a, you know, been in the bottom division. So, yeah, I don't know if that he was coming from that angle, that it's just, you know, we used to play in front of one man and his dog, and now look at us. But yeah, that kind of thing does get jumped over by opposition fans, especially, you know, the well-supported teams in this division.
He used it to the advantage. He put on another tweet about the car park being full, and it was something, now I've got your attention, and he put it towards the prostate cancelling, which I thought was a good touch. He has played that quite well, actually, because it did gather a lot of attention, not just from Sunderland fans. I think EFL had tweeted them at one point, and Specsavers had tweeted them back. So it actually did work quite well when he's trying to advertise and push towards the prostate campaign that you got.
That's what I was thinking, and that's kind of why I fired the question of Johnny. It is funny and it is proper tin pot. No offense, Johnny. It's like when you see the sold out car park thing, you kind of go, for fuck's sake. But then I kind of thought of it from a media perspective, and I thought, is he a genius or is he not a genius? I couldn't quite tell. But I wanted to ask Johnny a question as well, if that's all right, Brad.
Well, you let me, so I'll let you. And it is your show.
Go on then. Something I always like asking on the preview pod, and probably even more so in the review pod, is the thoughts on Sunderland as a team. Now, yeah, there was some pretty poor defending from us today, but up front, that was, as we've looked the past few weeks, which is probably the best all season. Ainsworth came out today and spoke about Ross Stewart. I haven't got the exact quote, but he basically put a lot of praise on him, and understandably so. But Sunderland as a team, when you're watching the game today from a perspective of Wycombe, do we look better than we have done previously?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, it's a little bit tough when you have a player that has such a standout performance as Stewart did, because it kind of almost like takes the focus off the other players. But you know, like you were saying earlier, look really good going forward. Every time we went forward, you looked really dangerous. The way we're playing the ball in behind the defence was really spot on. And I think if you can just kind of tighten up at the back a little bit, maybe. I was saying earlier that, I mean, in a previous show, that you have now got that kind of more physical edge that I think you need to have in this division. I think you know, based on today, maybe even a little bit more. Like if you're looking to bring people in January, maybe. Well, as someone was saying earlier, you know, a bit more athleticism in central midfield, and maybe someone with a bit, you know, muscle to them as well. I mean, yeah, that was a great performance from Sunderland. And if Stewart hadn't been on the pitch, I think you still got players who would have got on the end of those chances and put the ball in the back of the net. Yeah,
I think I've seen someone mention that the missed chances today. For me, when you score 3 goals, you can't really complain about missed chances for me. I know Ross Stewart got basically all of them, but yeah, it did. I mean, Embleton's, I hit the ball. Never know how that didn't go in, but nonetheless. Final question I'm going to throw at you, Dave, and then we'll go into the standard question, which we always ask every guest. Bailey Wright, obviously, I'd heard a few weeks back after the Sheffield Wednesday game, he came out of the stadium light with his arm in a sling. Nothing was mentioned about it, so I figured maybe it was just precautionary. He's fine. And then he hasn't shown up today in the lineup. The club have confirmed it isn't COVID. Ominous link doesn't sound great because it sounds like maybe something worse than it is. And you obviously throw back to the Luke 19 injury and the problems he had with it. At the moment, we don't know how long Bailey Wright's out for. I really was not a big fan of him. I think he's been tremendous, and I love eating my words about stuff like that. I think he's been terrific, and I think he would have been a big advantage today, especially with those balls coming in the box. How big of a miss will Bailey Wright be if he's out for a considerable amount of time, Dave?
Yeah, definitely, because he's the one who is the big, strong, experienced centre half that in the group, really. So yeah, and Flanagan's a bit more athletic. He's a bit more slender than Bailey Wright is. And to be honest, which is weird, really, because half of my problem with Bailey Wright has been the fact that he hasn't been putting himself in and about there. Whether he's being like kind of hiding in a bit of an injury and not putting himself in dangerous situations could beg the question, I suppose. So yeah, I think that could well become really important, getting another centre half and a big, strong centre half at that. Hopefully someone respectable. Hopefully, like, I probably wouldn't even be adverse to going against our new model of how we sign players and like an experienced centre half on loan just for a couple of months of the season. Do you know what I mean? 3-4 months just to get us through. Even if it was just someone to have in and around the dressing room at certain times, as opposed to getting a 18 to 23-year-old and like letting them grow with us. So yeah, that'd be nice for me. I'm trying to think of when I'm saying get someone experienced and whatever. Who was the Joel Lynch?
Johnny Evans.
Please.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that'd be nice. But like when I say someone experienced, I don't want like a Joel Lynch. I was trying to think of his name for about 5 minutes there.
Oh God.
But yeah, we're just light, aren't we? In certain little areas, if we get one more injury, it's just a bit of a nightmare. Someone like Roberts coming in will be flexible because he can play across all 4 or 5 positions across the front 5, so that'd be good. But yeah, some kind of utility. I wonder what Darren Williams is up to.
What, Nyron?
I mean, I'd have Nyron at any point. I'll always have Nyron. Nyron, you're always welcome if you're listening, which you're not. Final question as always, and I'll throw this question to you first, Brad. It's the same thing we always end our review show on now. What does the 3-3 draw with Wycombe mean in the context of Sunderland's season?
I'm going to give you the same boring answer after a draw. It's very good. Like I said at the start, when you take a point away from home, if you go and follow that up with a win at your next home game, and that looks like a very good point away then. If we go now and draw, or God forbid, get beat off Lincoln because they are shite, today's last minute conceding is even worse. Then I'm sort of like, oh shit. I was in the same boat as you a couple months ago about Johnson. I mean, you were very vocal about it. I love being proved wrong, and I hope to God we don't go back on that slump. We were 10 unbeaten, and a draw for me, as long as you follow up with a win, is good enough. As long as you follow it up. So ask me again Tuesday. Well, we don't do reviews Tuesday, so ask me again next weekend, mate, and I'll tell you if it was a good point or not.
I think it's a good way to put it. For what it's worth, I normally give my thoughts, but I'm just going to echo Brad because I'm pretty much on the money with that. Dave, I'll come to you next. Same question. Context of the season, what does that mean?
I'm going to be different and not be the boring bastard that I normally are and say that, like, for once, it's not because we will win Tuesday night, and I'm putting it out there.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Yeah, I'm calling it, mate. It's 4-1 Sunderland.
Chris Maguire, 86 minute, 1-0.
We'll have put 4 past them by then. In fact, I tell you what, Ross Stewart's that good. We'll have put 4 past them, and Ross Stewart will have scored 5. Work that out. No, I genuinely think it will be a good point based on the fact that I think we will comfortably win on Tuesday night. I normally say it's not as good as anything, but I'm really, really confident that we'll win on Tuesday night. So, yeah, that sticks to the 2 points per game ratio and onwards and upwards.
Johnny, I'll come at you next from a different viewpoint. Obviously, same question, but from a Wycombe perspective, what does the result today mean in the context of the season for Wycombe?
I think it should give us a little bit of a boost. Our record against the top 10, certainly the current top 10 as it stands, is shocking. Like, apart from Plymouth, we haven't beaten anyone in the top 10. The fact that we're still third, granted we've played a few more games than some of the chasing pack, but the fact we're still third after a couple of months where we've been really patchy, even, the games we've won, we've kind of flattered to deceive a bit. To still be third after that, I think highlights the inconsistency of this division. But it's a really good sign for us. I think, we're on course to comfortably finish in the playoffs. I don't think we'd necessarily win the playoffs, but I think we will finish in the top 6. For what it's worth, I think Sunderland are going to finish in the top 2. I hope so, because I don't have to play you again.
Snap. No offence. Jack, you get the final word, mate. Much like Jerry Springer. In the context of the season, what does Wycombe Wanderers 3, Sunderland 3 mean?
I think just to touch on what the lads have said, I think a point away from home at Wycombe, it's not too bad of a result. I think if we'd won today, it would have been lovely. We took the lead twice, and to be so close would have been an excellent win. But a point's never a bad result at Wycombe against a team away from home that are nearby. And I always look at it as a points tally thing. I think if you can keep up to 2 points a game, which we're on at the minute, that's what we're on, 50 from 25. If you give that over the course of the season, that's going to give you 92 at the end of the season, maybe nudge it up to 93 or 94. I think if we get that and don't go up, we'll be pretty unlucky. So I think if we can keep up to 2 points a game, we're doing all right.
And with that, I'll take myself off mute. And thank you very much for joining me, everyone. Dave, thanks very much for joining me. Jack, Johnny, Brad, thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Well done, Cambridge. Well done, Sunderland. Well done, Ross Stewart. Please subscribe if you fancy it.